Welcome to the Fierce Life Podcast, powered by Fierce Firearms, home of the lightest, most deadly accurate rifles ever.
Well, hey, Fierce Nation, welcome to podcast number 3. We are here in Redmond, Utah, at Fierce headquarters. I've got the old beanbags with me, Matthew Mogle, and Corn Dog, Courtney Crane. And I'll tell you what, boys, I'm about coronavirus out. How about you guys?
Bean, stay 6 feet away from me now.
Beans, you're at 5.5 feet. Please,
I think it's like 3.5. We're screwed. It's too late.
This is
You've already got it.
This is a pandemic going on. I know we shouldn't joke around too bad with it, but oh my gosh, can we please be done?
Mm-hmm.
How cooped up are you at your
house? We're in the middle of April. You know, the problem is Utah's not too bad. I mean, really, we come to work every day. We can still go out to restaurants. We have to dine out. You have to, get takeout. But I wouldn't say it's affected my life tons, except for there's no high school sports. That's killing me. My son's he's a junior, so we're missing an entire baseball season, which is his favorite sport. So that's killing me. But what's maybe even killing me worse than this coronavirus is the weather.
Ugh. I mean, look outside right now. It snowed.
I mean,
that's depressing to even talk about.
I want to get out and shoot guns and do this and do that. And it's like we get one day somewhat nice. The sun comes out, but then the wind's blowing. It's just
feels like we're heading straight back into winter already.
Spring in Utah. Mm-hmm. And it actually snowed this morning. So besides the COVID-19, this weather.
Today just felt doom and gloom. You come into work, you got the low-lying clouds.
Snowing
Snow
in the middle of April.
I mean, and look how it's affected your mood all day, Courtney.
I got a headache.
You've been unapproachable all day, and that's not acceptable.
It's not acceptable. Guys, an ornery bugger.
Yeah, he really is.
Stay the hell away.
But, the one thing, I mean, it is, we are blessed in a way that we're still selling guns. Guys are still calling in. They're buying shotguns on the Rosini side, and they're buying Fierce. I wouldn't say it's as busy, but it's still steady.
It is. I feel like the phones, are still coming in. People still have questions, buying guns. The new Rival's out, the debut of that. I mean, people are asking questions. We're taking orders. Yeah, I mean, can't complain.
You think about some of these other businesses, it's sad. It's sad what's happening across the world, and but we'll get through it, hopefully sooner than later, and be back to somewhat normal.
Yeah,
but it's definitely been crazy. But later on in the podcast, we've got Jason Hornady joining us. We're going to talk about the emergence and craze in the 300 PRC.
You've known Jason for a while, haven't you?
6.5 PRC. Yeah, I've known the Hornadys for quite a while. I've hunted with both him and his dad, and I'll tell you what, if you want to hunt with some fun people, they are fun. They're fun to hang out with.
I remember some of your stories.
They've got a good sense of humors, and sometimes you go hunting with some people that aren't so fun. These guys are fun to hang out with.
Like Courtney Crane.
Good deal. Speaking of hanging out, I mean, with this COVID deal, I mean, Matt, sometime, what you tell me a minute ago, 9, 11, you got 9 kids.
I have 5 kids of my own, and then I'm with a girl that she has 4.
And so that's 9 plus 2, that's 11. And what'd you say? 11 people in a studio-size apartment. How's your quarantine?
Yeah, we only live in a 350 square foot studio apartment. So,
it's bigger than that.
So when you get all 11 of us together, we're cooped up.
And the oldest is like 15, 16,
17,
and a bunch under 10. Woo!
A lot of teenage girls, and it's a lot of estrogen, and so staying cooped up inside with all this going on, I have to get out of the house as often as I can.
Speaking of a coop, why don't you ask me how my chicken coop's coming along?
Corn Dog is building.
Listen, I just set myself up on that one, but I had
Corn Dog lives around the street from me, and I pass. He started building this chicken coop. Was it 2 or 3 weeks ago?
I think it might have been over 3 weeks ago.
It's the Taj Mahal.
And his wife was out there with him on a Saturday, and I'm driving down the road, running to the store, this, that, and I'm like looking at all this wood, and then a little frame comes up, and Courtney, I got to say, we're about 2-3 weeks in, and it hasn't come along much further than that first day.
There's a lot of screws and nails going into this bad boy. I can't move
I
it
really
myself.
thought as much time as you're putting into it, it'd start to look like that stadium down in Las Vegas or something.
I might be putting in an elevator soon.
These chickens are going to be throwing out eggs like no tomorrow. Was it because of the craze in the grocery stores where you couldn't find any eggs? Is that why your wife said, Courtney, I'm sure she didn't say corn dog. She said, Courtney, we are getting chickens. Is that what happened?
I have to admit, she's been wanting chickens ever since we got married, but I've been blowing her off. Now all of a sudden I can't get eggs. By damn, I'm going to build her a chicken coop.
So the chicken coop goes on. Beano's is cooped up in the house with 11 people. Corn Dog's worrying about his egg run, how the eggs are going to roll down the little deal, however that works. Not real sure. I'm not an expert at that. But back to Fierce Nation. Here we go. We're here. We're still selling guns. We got Jason Hornady coming up. And, man, I'll tell you what. They come out with some great stuff. I mean, my 17 HMR this time of year, I mean, that's in my truck in the passenger seat all the time just for shooting little pot guts and whatever runs across the road out here in the boonies where we live. So that's one of my favorite calibers. And now we've got the 6.5 PRC, the 300 PRC, absolute tack drivers. They're shooting great, these sleek, heavy bullets that are made to shoot long range. And just the accuracy they're delivering has been phenomenal, huh?
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. In fact, Ammon just in the back shot like a 0.12 inch group with a 300 PRC.
Probably
That's
factory
nice.
ammo.
Yep.
Factory Hornady ammo. We are now.
Well, that's proof why it's popular right there.
Well, I mean, it's just a natural born tack driver.
Yeah,
Just,
we get targets like that all the time.
And that's exactly right. Natural born tack driver. There's a few cartridges that you can say are inherently accurate. I would think the 300 Win Mag.
mm-hmm.
Obviously, the new 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yep.
The 7 Mag's kind of inherently accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got others, some of these hot rods that we still get them to shoot half-inch groups, but you got to work at it a little more.
Right.
But what we've seen, when we're a company that guarantees a half MOA accuracy guarantee, that's a bold claim.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you what, the guys in the back love it when we sell a 300 PRC, a 6.5 Creedmoor, or a 6.5 PRC because they're like, we don't have to fight this gun.
No.
We know it's going to shoot factory ammo out of a Fierce rifle under a half, no problem. And just like you said, they just shot one that was literally one hole.
Yep.
One hole. And we are starting to do our own hand loading now and doing custom ammo. But man, if the customer doesn't have to buy custom ammo, better off for them.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're hunting bulls in New Mexico and they're out of ammo or they forgot ammo, you know what? With a Fierce gun, run into Cabela's or Sportsman's Warehouse or a sporting goods store, grab some factory ammo that you've already know your gun shoot, and off you go.
I mean, what's the percentage of our guns that are shooting like factory loads to get those targets that we get the half-inch MOA guarantee? Is it
95%?
Mm-hmm.
95%.
Awesome.
We, like I said, we are doing custom loads now. There's still a lot of customers that just want a hand load, and there's some advantages to hand loading. Definitely, where you can get the deviation of your feet per second. I mean, within 5 to 10 feet. Sometimes in factory ammo, you have velocity spreads of 20 to 30. We've even seen some 50 feet, and that's where it becomes a problem in factory ammo. Especially out to extended range. And so that's why we are coming out with our own ammo here soon and are doing load development for guys. Our guns just shoot, and that's what's phenomenal. But now that you guys, we've talked about the chicken coops, we've talked about Beano's and the 11 kids. Let's get into some good stuff. We've got Jason Hornady calling in from Hornady Manufacturing, one of the legends. Him and his dad Steve are at the helm there, and Steve's dad Joy started the company and has a long history there, and really a tragic death going to the SHOT Show. Mm-hmm. But let's join up with Jason. He's calling us now. I see that he's just called in, and let's see what's happening at Hornady. Well, hey, we have a special guest joining us today at Fierce Nation here on our podcast, episode number 3. We have Jason Hornady from Hornady Manufacturing. And Jason, are you there?
I am.
Good to have you, buddy. How are you guys personally? You know, we've been sitting around talking about how we're dealing with this coronavirus stuff, how we are social distancing and keeping sane. From a personal level, what have you been doing to pass time and just have fun or do what you do?
I tell you what, I wish I'd invested in Netflix well before this thing started, because I think at various times I have 4 different TVs in my house going, depending on my kids and whatever else. Everybody's watching their own show. There's been plenty of binge watching going on, and my dog's kind of freaked out because I normally travel a bunch, and here we've spent almost a month straight together, and just trying.
He's ready to kick you out.
Oh, he's kind of staring at me funny, and now when he sees other people, he runs to them instead of usually stick by my side. But trying not to drink too much, of course, and
Yeah.
I've learned how to make jerky, which I'd never really spent much time trying to do, and some other hobbies, and I still got a couple things to do. My kids are going crazy, and
I hear you. I didn't know what binge. I really didn't understand what binge watching was.
Yeah.
Until this all hit, and you're exactly right. Netflix, Ozarks, and there's so many different little. I mean, once you start one of those things where there's no commercials and you can just move on to the next episode. I mean, I can sit there and watch 5-6 episodes a night. It's like, what am I doing?
No, I'm sure you have.
I even started exercising.
Have you guys been pulled into that TikTok stuff yet?
No, not yet.
It's a lot of this where these basically you pick a song and you try dancing to it, you record yourself, and then you put it on this app, and it's just extremely viral right now.
And Jason, this is my brother Matt. I'm not sure if you met him or not, but he's joining in on the conversation. And just to give you a little history about Matt, he's divorced with 5 kids, and he's dating a gal that has 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get together on weekends, he needs a school bus.
Yeah, 11 of us cooped up together, quarantining.
They don't make minivans that big, do they?
No,
that's funny.
They don't. Oh man! But before we jump into some of this, I've got some really cool memories in my brain from the Hornady family and my hunting career. One of them we just had. I think it was last season or a couple seasons ago. Both you and I had the privilege. You invited us out to come out on a hunt with you in Colorado, and we brought one of the legendary rock stars, James Hetfield from Metallica, and man, that was a fun experience, wasn't it?
That was a cool deal, and it was just what was there, 5 of us in camp, just 5 dudes hanging out.
Yeah, it was, and one of my favorite hunting pictures is towards the end of the hunt when both he and your dad harvested nice bucks, where they were in that old skinning shed together. Man, that's just like a total classic photo. 2 legends, Steve there from Hornady being a legend in the bullet and ammo manufacturing, and James being, obviously a legend in the rock world and metal world. So that's when I look at that picture, I always just go, that's just a classic, classic photo.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because he thought it was cool hanging around with us gun guys, and we thought it was cool hanging out with him.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was good. It was a lot of fun. And then one of my other memories was with your dad. I'm sure you've heard him tell this story because I've heard him tell it several times, but I took your dad on a hunt. It's probably been maybe 15 years ago. Took him to Wyoming with R&K Hunting Company. And we were over there hunting mule deer, and we had a guy in camp with us, a buddy, Troy Christensen, and we'd both spotted. We were out with our guides, and I was there, kind of helping your dad out, helping scout and filming for our TV show, and both of Troy's guide and then me and your dad's guide spotted this big buck kind of all at the same time, and it was a dark one night, and so we got back to camp and we're all talking about it, and we're like, man, how are we going to go in on this buck? And we decided Troy and his guide spotted it first, so we were going to give them the first chance to go in on it. And this was a big deer. I mean, a 200-incher. And I remember your dad's like, well, I don't know. Let's let them have first chance at it. I said, you bet, we'll let them have first chance at it. But Troy gets buck fever like I've never seen anyone get buck fever before. So I said, let them go in on it, and let's just let's set up on the other side of the canyon in case they boo it or he misses, which I've seen happen a few times. And so we did that. And sure enough, the other guys go in on this buck, and Troy missed it twice, and we set up absolutely perfect. And your dad that was kind of when the RCM just first come out, the 300 Ruger Compact Magnum, and we just built him up one of those guns, and he had some ammo, and he was testing that. And this buck, Troy missed it twice, and your dad's just like, I can't believe it. He missed that. And I was like, yeah, 100, 200 yards. He missed it. Here it comes. Get ready. And so he's just talking to this deer. He's just like, come on, because this buck's running. And it gets up to the top of this ridge and does that classic look back. It stops and kind of looks back towards us. And your dad hammered that thing at 500 yards right behind the shoulder, folded it up, scored, I think, around 200 inches. And it was his biggest deer to date. I don't know if he's killed one bigger, but man, was he excited.
No, that's his biggest. That is his biggest.
Is that his biggest deer?
Yep.
And it was just unreal. And that little 300 RCM just hammered him. I think at that time, what was the popular bullet at that time? Was it a GMX?
No, it was probably an SST or maybe an Interbond, I suppose.
I think it was an Interbond. Yep.
Do you remember first time you and I went with Dean?
There's another memory. Yes, I do.
We're like 5 minutes in, and I'd never looked at big mule deer. So I'm kind of starstruck that I'm on the right place, the right ranch, and we weren't hunting more than 15 minutes.
I think Dino literally had this deer tied up because he drove up on the top of this little mesa, and we're driving along in the truck, and it's just like we get out, and we're glassing all these deer because they're everywhere, and it's like, holy crap, there's a big deer, Jason.
Yeah. Dean, so I don't know what to do. He's, that's a pretty good one. And I have my hand on the door latch, figuring we're going to make a stalk, and one hand on my gun, and I'm trying not to act like a lab that's watching the geese come into the decoys. And he goes, maybe we know where he is. We'll let him go. And in the back, Mogle goes, are you guys kidding? There's no way we're going to let that deer go, is there? Are you serious?
Just so everyone knows, this deer that these guys passed, and we walked up on, I think you even got the gun up on the shooting sticks, maybe 300 yards. And I'm behind you guys. I'm filming for the TV show. I'm running the camera. And this deer, I swear, Jason, he's 28 wide, and he is tall, just big, deep forks. I'm just saying to myself, this is a typical high 190, mid to high 190s. And Dean turns to you and says, I think we can do better. And I'm just like, are you serious?
That's not the way you said it.
No, I didn't say it like that.
You said it more, I can't believe you guys are going to let that one go.
I may have said, oh, yeah.
So we
something like that. There was definitely some colorful words in there from, I think, all of us. And I think you were just kind of like, what were you thinking? Were you just kind of like, well, okay.
Well, I was thinking, you might have to bleep me here. Holy beep. And if we can do better than that, holy cow. And you talked us into going back to look for him, and that's when we did. We put a sneak on him and just could never get it right, and then he took off, and we never saw him again.
We never saw that buck again.
Ever.
We went back. I said, guys, we ought to put this up on the TV screen. Let's just look at him and see how big he really is. And we put him up on the TV screen, and Dean's like, he might be a little bigger than I thought.
Oh, well.
But
that's why it's hunting, right?
Yeah, that's what hunting's all about. But you still hammered a buck that I think he broke 190, didn't he? He had a couple extra points. And
yeah, I got a couple good ones with Dean out there. Both in the 190s, yeah.
Over in Colorado, our buddy Dean from Bull Basin, they've killed some big bucks over there, and luckily both of us have been a part of a few of them. So and just Dean, great memories, hunting memories with the Hornady crowd here from Fierce Nation. So it's always good to reflect back. But just wanted to kind of, we're in this dang coronavirus craze going on. It's just a crazy, crazy world right now. It's heck, we're the middle of April right here, and I would imagine you guys are going nuts with all this ammo binge buying. Speaking of binge, I mean, what would you call it right now? What are you seeing in the world?
It's interesting, John. I started working in the industry in 1993, and in that time, I've seen what we call 5 surges. The first one was Brady. The second one was kind of the Y2K through the Hurricane Katrina. Um, Third one was when um, Barack Obama got elected. Fourth was after the unfortunate Sandy Hook event.
Yep.
And every time we see one of those, it's just like whoa. And the thing about this one is it started because of West Virginia. We started seeing business get better in November, and we think it was some of the election rhetoric, and some of it was the Virginia thing, and then here comes this virus. And literally in the month of March, the stores were full, and I had a guy from Academy send me a picture, and it looked like it looked like um, well, it just was gone. The inventory was gone. It looked like they hadn't even started to set the store up, and kind of like grasshoppers hit a freaking cornfield. It just decimated everything, and we made and shipped more in the month of March than we ever have, and we're doing our best, but trying to get caught up again is just not going to happen because it's going out as fast as it can get in.
And it still is. Still
Yeah.
the middle of April, it's still going.
Yep, it is.
And what's the flavor of this crisis? What's everyone buying?
It's about like the other ones. It's anything self-defense handgun, anything that will run through an AR, anything for the long range stuff. So 6.5 Creedmoor is still really hot. The PRCs are hot. 9mm really hot. Then of course all your 223s and your 300 blackouts and 308s, that stuff.
Yeah. Yep. And I remember actually, I think it was on that hunt with your dad when he killed that big mule deer. I remember one of the things it was during the Sandy Hook tragedy when stuff was going nuts, and he was kind of, he seemed a little wore out on that hunt, but he gave your dad loves, he gave me some good advice, and I like to pick his brain because he's been around this industry for so long. But he said, man, through these crises, or whatever you want to call them, booms in certain industries, like we're in the high end here at Fierce, we're in the high end long range business, so we haven't seen the booms. We're still selling guns, but it's slowed down for us.
Sure.
Right? So different segments of our industry are feeling it different, but it seems like the lower end AR-15s, from what I'm hearing, and pistols, and obviously all the ammo these guys can get, they're buying. But back then, after that tragedy, your dad told me, man, he said one piece of advice I'll give you, don't follow the booms, because he says I've seen so many companies do really well, and then they'll chase, and then all of a sudden it's gone, and then they're gone.
Yep.
And so that's kind of, I think, what companies probably like yourself is how much do you chase it, because you guys have seen the ups and downs, and eventually here it's going to slow down. So I'm sure that's one of the things you guys struggle with, is how much investment, how long is it going to last, basically, right?
Right. We don't manage for that kind of stuff. We just manage our business and for steady growth. I'd be lying if I told you we don't try to make hay when the sun shines, but maybe adding hours or doing these things. And the thing about this one is it's really hard to add hours. We've split our shifts. We're doing everything we can to keep all our employees safe. So we're working 4 on, 3 off, and then the following week 3 on, 4 off. Got people spread out, and so we're trying to add a bunch of hours or any of that stuff. It's really hard, and it's crazy, but we're still just managing the business, making the same basic decisions we would make whether business was flat or booming. So
And that's consistent with exactly what your dad said. So that's what I expected. And why don't you give our listeners just a little bit of history of the Hornady company before we jump into the 6.5 and 300 PRC, a little bit of the history and kind of where you're at today. I mean, I know you guys have been growing like crazy and just really did a fantastic job marketing and coming out with new products and really kind of dominating the ammo and bullet market, in my opinion.
Well, appreciate that. The thing is we're truly a family company. When my grandfather started the business as Hornady Manufacturing, he started in 1949. The 2 or 3 years prior to that, he was actually partners with Vernon Spear, which, if you're familiar with Spear Bullets, which is part of the Vista Group now, Vernon Spear and my grandfather were partners, and they got to know each other here during World War II in Grand Island, where we had a bomb making facility. But my grandfather, that partnership just didn't work out, as frequently happens, and they both split up. And it's interesting because for years when I was a little kid, I mean, our biggest competitor was Spear Bullets, and I remember that like yesterday. But he ran the business. My father came back shortly after I was born and started working for him. He was killed in a plane crash going to the SHOT Show in 1981. And so all of a sudden, then my dad had to take over with my grandmother, and then my aunt moved back. I graduated from college in 1992, and one of the deals that my family made with all of us, or it wasn't a deal, it was a rule. You got to go work somewhere else and get relevant experience for a minimum of 10 years before you can come back to the factory. And so there's 5 grandkids total, and I was the only one that was truly interested in coming back. The others, for no fault of their own, they just had other interests they pursued. And
Sure.
so I did that. I was actually out for 15 years before I finally came back, when there was the right spot for me in sales and marketing.
And I remember, I've kind of been in this industry for a while, and I remember as you were out, you were a sales rep for which group was it?
Well, I was with a couple different rep groups.
Okay.
The last one I was with was Duncan Lewis, and I handled
Yep.
accounts like Academy and Cabela's and Sportsman's Warehouse and some of those.
And so I kind of, from afar, I kind of watched this as you were out getting your experience and wondering when you were going to come back into the company. And when did that happen?
That happened in the middle of 2006. And it's funny because my first day, at that time, copper had taken a run and had gone from basically $2 a pound to it actually hit $4.26. And my dad said to me, if it hits $5, we're going to shut the place down. And when it hit 426, he looked at me, literally the first meeting, he says, you want to turn the truck around? There's no hard feelings. I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, that's kind of a scary environment to be coming into, huh?
It was kind of scary. And we've had plenty of those scary things happen, but that's just part of business. And he's still here. He comes in every day. He likes to make sure we all know he's the boss, but
good old Steve, you gotta love him.
We certainly have our family dynamic, and we focus on new products. We focus on being easy to do business with, and
so what would you
team is
say?
awesome.
Yeah,
we're a family.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about it is your family dynamic and how you've kept it together. And I'll tell you, your dad is one of the funniest guys I've ever hung out in hunting camp with. His stories, his songs, he's one of a kind. I'll never forget Steve Hornady. He's just an original for sure. And you're right there behind him. But what do you think in the last 10 years? I mean, I don't know what the growth rate has been at Hornady, or I don't know if you care to share that, but I've seen a ton of growth. What would you credit that to?
Well, I'm going to tell you it's the new sales guy that started in 2006. What are you thinking?
There you go. I think so. I think he came in with a lot of new ideas and like to push the envelope, and has really did a great job. Obviously, I mean, one of the great products, just going off the top of my head, 17 HMR.
Yeah, that was actually in 2001.
That was before you. We can't give you partial credit to that one.
You can't give me credit for that. You can't give me credit for Lever Evolution. But I certainly was here for Critical Defense and Critical Duty and Precision Hunter and ELDMs and X's, and but I don't get credit for those either. It's truly
you've got a great team, a lot of good engineers there, and Neil Davies on the marketing side. You guys just have a great team, and that's what makes it happen. And
it's exactly right.
So
Let
that's
let them
awesome.
run.
How many employees are you guys up to?
We only say more than 500, um, but it's significantly more than 500.
Yeah. And you've opened a second facility. How many facilities? 2?
We actually have 4,
4. See, I'm
but they're
behind
all
the
within
times.
9 miles of one another.
And I haven't been out to visit. Last time I was there was probably 10 years ago when you were just adding on to your current facility. So you've added
Probably,
on
yeah.
a bunch from there. But
Yep, that's probably true.
now that we've got that out of the way, I mean, we've got the guys. Matt, as you know, Matt, my brother here, does our marketing. I mean, what would you say our number one selling calibers are right now?
The 6.5 PRC and the 300 PRC are definitely popular. 6.5 Creedmoor has always been probably top. 300 Win Mag.
Yeah, but
The
we've seen
6.5 PRCs for sure. And the 300 PRCs, those are what we can't keep in inventory very long.
Yep, definitely.
Woohoo!
So, yeah, buddy. So you did great there. The Creedmoor was phenomenal, and the 6.5 PRC and 300 PRC are definitely taking the lion's share of our sales. That's what everyone wants. And when you start looking at the ballistics and the science behind it and what it's doing, you can see why. And what was the thought process when you came out with those 2 calibers?
I just wanted to make it so that John Mogle quit shooting a 300 Remington Ultra Mag.
Well, you finally did it. Damn it.
I got that gig in, didn't I, Matt?
That took a long time, man.
I know. It took a while to get that set up, but
you know what? There was finally a cartridge that came out that I could make the switch.
blah blah blah.
A matter of fact, when we look at some of our ballistic charts, Jason, old school, like we talked in our previous podcast, we talked about how speed ruled the Lazzaronis back in the day. You've seen how this industry's evolved. Speed ruled and speed killed. And I always was a big fan of the 300 Ultra Mag, and still am. But the 300 PRC, if you do a comparison in the 180 grain AccuBond out of the 300 rum,
I'm sorry, what?
And compare it to the 300 PRC 225 ELD,
okay,
you see how the 225 ELD kills it. Speed does not always kill. When you do ballistic comparisons, I'm just looking here at my table. So a 300 rum shooting a 180 grain, let's say AccuBond at 3250, and then you have the 300 PRC 225 shooting at 2810. So at the muzzle comparison there, the 300 rum's got it by 450 feet at the muzzle. But nowadays, when you get into range, when you start comparing that, it quickly takes it over. I'm just looking at my charts here at around at 500 yards. The 300 PRC at 500 yards at that comparison is at 2330 velocity, the rum's got it just a little bit at 500 yards, but it quickly takes it over at
dies after. Yep.
About 700 yards. You're getting faster. And the energy, here's the big difference. The foot-pounds of energy coming out of that 225 ELD with that 0.77 ballistic coefficient. I mean, it just destroys it once you get out past 700-800 yards. You start to see the speed takes over, the ballistic coefficient takes over, the drop, and then the foot-pounds of energy. And then also the wind drift. That big bullet's not blown around. So you have converted me, my friend. I am a PRC believer now, and I'm now shooting a PRC. And the 6.5 PRC, man, I mean, but how did you guys get him to shoot so accurately? That's kind of what blows me away. As we have a shooting range here at our facility. We shoot out to 1,000 yards right out our back door. The guys don't even go outside. They have a room. They shoot out to just lift the window up and shoot out to a mile. But the tiny little targets they bring in, that those 2 calibers shooting, blow my mind with factory ammo. What do you think? Why is that?
It's interesting because it truly started with the Creedmoor, but it even started before that. Kind of started with lever evolution when we converted the 30-30 and we put a soft tip bullet on it, and we used a different powder. And what some of our guys said, and I'll never forget Dave Emery saying to me, it's not always about speed, it's about being efficient. And I learned a lot about overbore, and overbore is when you're expelling more of the energy out the muzzle in the form of burning gas than you are pushing the bullet. And so with the Creedmoor, we started trying to just make the case and the powder combination as efficient as possible. And then the other thing is if you look, the Creedmoor, the PRCs, and most of the new cartridges you see coming today, we've got that bullet way out there, and that's where it really intends to be. Burying the bullet in the case past the neck doesn't do you any good. It actually makes the cartridge a lot less efficient.
Yep.
Sometimes just because it has a super huge case capacity doesn't mean that it's going to make it more accurate. And so what was happening with some of these big cartridges, and not to pick on your Ultramag, but Ultramag, they took a Pepsi bottle, put a pencil on top of it, and stuffed it as full of powder as they could. But because it was so long, they had to bury that bullet. And so you couldn't inherently wring out the accuracy because you couldn't control the way the bullet engaged the rifling. There'd be that jump, and the jump, you don't know if the bullet's hitting the rifling square or somewhat sideways. Well, once it is even a thousandth off of center, it is going to become an inefficient way to deliver the bullet to the target. And the other thing is we want that powder basically to be spent right when the bullet's leaving the muzzle. And so we spent a lot of time working on all those efficiencies. And if you'd liken the 6.5 Creedmoor to the 308, then you could liken the 6.5 PRC is the same relationship to the 6.5 Creedmoor as the 300 WSM would be to the 308. Again, though, we were getting that bullet way out there and using more efficient powders and a very efficient case design. And that is exactly what happened. And then on the 300 PRC, we did the same kind of thing. That one, we happened to take a 375 Ruger case. We kind of went the other direction, but again, using long, super sleek bullets. And we've learned a lot about making super accurate bullets too.
Yeah, yeah. And a matter of fact, that the 6.5, from what I was reading, is it's based off the RCM case, correct?
It is. It's based off the 300 RCM.
One of the back to the old big mule deer days when the RCM just come out, kind of a little brother to that.
It's interesting because, and you were one of the first ones that I saw doing some of this stuff. People like to hunt long range, and
absolutely,
we learned a lot about bullets. And one of the initiatives that we started after seeing some of the guys do that is, I'm not going to advocate that you should shoot stuff super far or super close or whatever. But if you are going to take some of those long shots, we want to make sure we have a bullet and an accurate enough platform that's going to make it as humane as possible. And we sure feel like we've got that done with these cartridges and the ELDX bullets.
Absolutely. They're phenomenal. And we've really had a lot of fun shooting them. It's made long range shooting a lot more efficient. I'll tell you, when guys come out to our shooting school, we shoot a lot of the 6.5 P. We used to shoot the Creedmoor a lot, and we still do, but we've got a lot of builds in the 6.5 PRC, and guys love it because of the light recoil. It gets there a little quicker. You're almost a couple hundred feet per second than the Creedmoor, and just the efficiency of those long range bullets with the high BC, how they cut through the air, and we always have wind. We're always playing with out here and trying to dope, and so where you have the minimal wind deflection because of those high BC bullets, it just makes it a lot of fun to shoot. And the cartridge design is brilliant. When I first saw it, I was like, man, yeah, that is just such a great idea, where you set the shoulder back and was able, instead of, just like you said, instead of stuffing that bullet clear down in the case, you actually have it, sticking out. You can be much more efficient with that powder. So that's fantastic. There's your dog. He's wondering what the crap you're doing. Is it giving you that look you talked about earlier in the show?
Yeah, he's giving me that look, and I moved, and we're all wearing masks, so he looked at me, and what are you doing? So
yeah, I hear you.
He sounds tough, but he's a big sissy.
And that's so what we kind of want to talk about. What are you seeing in those two cartridges? Are you seeing just extreme growth and popularity?
Yeah, it's certainly the Creedmoor is tough to beat. But the two PRCs, the 6.5 PRC is the next popular, but the 300's catching up quick. And, it's one of those deals where a guy really has a use for all three of those cartridges. And
Absolutely.
so I think we're seeing a lot of that, and just the popularity. I mean, look at Fierce is doing a fantastic job with some of these rifles that are set up for long range hunting and those things, and guys are buying them. I've got one in 6.5 PRC, and I had to get one for a buddy that was in 300 PRC, if you recall, and I got two more that guys are asking, but they like it. And the other thing is they're not all necessarily hunting. They like to just go shoot them at long range.
Absolutely. And I think we've got a few of your engineers shooting our stuff now too. So they're a great combination, our rifles and Hornady, and we really appreciate the partnership. And man, just keep putting out these phenomenal products, because it makes it easier for us to sell guns. Everyone, there's so many cartridges out there, and there so many of our customers have, gun safes full of guns, and they all say, I don't need another gun. But we all know that answer. When Hornady or someone else comes out with a phenomenal cartridge, everyone's got to have another. They got to have another rifle.
Guns are like shoes, John. You can never have too many.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And we both hear that from women, right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
So what's the plans in these calibers? I know in the 300 PRC, I believe there's what about heavier bullets on the 6.5 PRC? Anything new in the pipeline for maybe heavier bullets that the market seems to, they love heavy?
I just came out of the new products meeting, and I don't know if we're going to have one heavier in the 300 PRC. We are looking at a heavier one for the 6.5. The one thing we are looking at is some GMX bullets that are designed specifically for those cartridges. So for the guys who like the monolithic solids, or are in places where they're mandated to hunt with a non-lead core bullet, we're planning on having a couple of those. We're looking at a couple other line extensions. Not quite ready to confirm for sure, but those will be heavy GMXs. Looks like the 300 PRC is going to be a 190, and the 6.5 PRC is going to be a 130, and that's heavy for a monolithic solid. You might see a fairly heavy bonded bullet from us here before too long for those. Just trying to make sure we cover everybody in their palate.
Well, that's what you got to do. Try and get hit all angles so you can get all the market, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's fantastic news. So something for us to look for as well as our customers, and we really appreciate you being with us. I think your dog's bark was notice that it's time to go. So, so we'll let you go, bud. But it's always good talking to you. And once again, we appreciate you and love your stuff. So keep it up and stay safe during these weird times.
Appreciate you guys too. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Thanks, Jason.
Well, guys, there you have it. We just had a great conversation with Jason Hornady, kind of see what they're up to. It's been a great podcast. I don't know if we've got any more to add to that. I definitely think the 6.5 PRC and the 300 PRC are here to stay.
For sure.
That's one thing you see in our industry. So many new cartridges. I mean,
come and go.
Every year at SHOT Show, it's like, oh my gosh, more cartridges. But as a gun manufacturer, you're excited about it because whenever there's new cartridges, guys got to have another gun. Mm-hmm. But it's like, how could there be something better? And so you kind of get a little skeptical about it. But man,
Hornady always leads, though. When these new calibers come out, if they have something, it leads the market.
They do.
They know what they're doing.
Absolutely. So it's good to talk to him. And definitely, as you look at your ballistic charts and look at the tables and see what these high BC bullets, the 225 ELD and the 300 PRC, I mean, 0.777 in a G1 ballistic coefficient. Big. So you see how well that bullet's flying through the air. If you look at charts like we talked about, Jason gives me crap because I've been kind of the leader in pushing that 300 drum all through the years. I'm on TV and whatnot, and I have a hard time peeling that gun from not peeling it from my hands. I just have a hard time not reaching for that gun when I go out on hunts. But I did just build a 300 PRC, and I've loved it. I mean, just knowing how much I like to compare it like this. When you look at the foot-pounds of energy, like I tell guys on the phone, it's like, would you like to be, you got prize fighters. You got Sugar Ray Leonard. He's knocked out a lot of people, right? Mm-hmm. But he's a little guy. He was, I don't know what he weighs. What, 160, 170? I don't know what he weighed. And then there's Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, what did he weigh, Beanos? He's probably about, probably a little heavier than you, maybe.
Bruiser.
He's probably 220,
220. I
don't
think
know.
Tyson was about 220.
But that guy
230.
hits, right? So, I mean, you look at the foot-pounds of energy in a 300 PRC at 1,000 yards with the 225 grain bullet. Foot-pounds of energy, 1,806 foot-pounds of energy taken to the target.
That's a Tyson knockout.
In a 180 grain 300 Remington Ultra Mag, 1,300 foot-pounds of energy. So it's like being hit by Sugar Ray Leonard or Mike Tyson. Sugar Ray, he's probably gonna knock you out. But Mike Tyson, he's damn near going to kill you. There's that much more foot-pounds. And I'll tell you, when I hit an animal, I want him dead.
Yep.
How dead? Dead.
Correct.
So the more foot-pounds of energy I can take to my target and knock them down, the better off you are. And so, once again, back in the day, speed killed. Now you're seeing, hey, these slower, high BC bullets, they kill better. They're more efficient. And at long range, when you're within 300-400 yards, not much difference. But when you start getting out 500, 600, 700, 800, 1,000 yards, man, there's so much more energy being delivered to the target. Just kills. And that's where the market has changed. And well, that's why these cartridges are becoming so popular. Wouldn't you agree, Courtney?
Oh, for sure, 100%. I mean, you saw the Creedmoor for a long time, and all of a sudden it's the PRC. Why? I mean, you're getting 200 feet per second, faster initially, but you're maintaining that too at your longer distances with the foot-pounds of energy. So,
yep.
So
2 great cartridges. Obviously more, the 6.5 Creedmoor. I mean, Hornady puts out just fantastic products. They sponsor our TV show. They're a good partner with us, and we love their stuff because it makes our life easy. But that's the podcast from today. Everyone stay safe out there. Hopefully this coronavirus stuff's going to tame down and we can all get back to normal and get back to those things we love. But in the meantime, I don't know where you're at, but here in Utah, we can get out and shoot and get out and enjoy the outdoors. So wherever you're at, hopefully you can do the same. Get your guns out. Make sure they're dialed in. Start getting ready for hunt season. It's that time. So social distance in that way, and I think we'll all be fine. So peace out from Fierce Nation. We will see you next time.
And you stay classy, Fierce Nation.
Thank you for spending your time with the Fierce Nation. For more info on our rifles, products, or events, check out our website, www.fiercearms.com, or send us a message through any of our social media channels.